Not yet,
Yeah,
I
no.
think. Now, yes.
Now, good. Okay. So I'm going to start. It's too sharp. So, thank you very much for connecting today and welcome all to the first seminar in our series of 2025 at the Transport Studies Unit, which is part of the School of Geography and the Environment at the University of Oxford. My name is Valentina Montoya Robledo. I'm a senior researcher in gender and mobility, and I will be chairing this seminar that, as all of you know, is titled Transport, Aliveness, and Social Imagination in an African Megacity. So, before we start, let us do some housekeeping. First of all, please keep all the microphones in mute. We will have questions at the end of the presentation. You can write them down on the chat or use the hand emoji to say that you want to speak, and we will give you the turn. The third important point here is that the session will be recorded. Not the Q&A, only the session by Professor Agbiboa. And it will be uploaded to the TSU YouTube channel. I will, in a little while, leave the link in the chat. Please follow our social media and website for more seminars and our annual lecture this year, which will be with Caroline Criado Perez. So now let's go on with the seminar. We have the pleasure to have today Dr. Daniel Agbiboa. He's an associate professor of African and African American Studies at Harvard University. He serves as the faculty associate of the Weatherhead Center for International Affairs, an affiliate of the Harvard Bloomberg Center for Cities, and co-chair of the Urban Conversation series at the Mahindra Humanities Center. His research explores themes of mobility, power, and politics in African cities. Professor Agbiboa is the author of several critically acclaimed books, including Date, Our Sweat, Transport, Labor, Corruption, and Everyday Survival in urban Nigeria. Also, this was a finalist of the Society for Economic Anthropology Best Book Prize, and Mobility, Mobilization, and Counterinsurgency, The Routes of Terror in an African Context, which received the Lian Fuji Best Book Award and the International Studies Association Best Book Award. A recipient of numerous prestigious honors, Professor Agbiboa has been awarded the Clarence Stone Scholar Award from the American Political Science Association for his contributions to urban politics, the Politics and Gender Best Article Award, and the James F. Short Jr. Distinguished Article Award. He is also the recipient of the Guggenheim Distinguished Scholar Award and the CIFAR Azrieli Global Scholar Award from 2024 to 2026. His academic fellowships include time at the Institute for Advanced Studies at Princeton University and the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. And finally, Professor Agbiboa serves as a trustee of the International Journal of Urban and Regional Research Foundation and is a member of the editorial boards for African Studies Review and the IGURR. So thank you very much, Professor Agbiboa, for accepting the invitation and for starting this seminar series. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Valentina. Thank you to everybody who has made this possible and for the invitation to present on my favorite topic, a topic very close to my heart on transport and social imagination. So I'm just going to delve straight into the materials. I look forward to your comments and questions on the other end. So picture this. A crowded minibus taxi breaks down in the middle of a bustling Lagos expressway. Frustration initially fills the air. Groans, muted complaints, and impatient glances at the conductor. But soon, the passengers rally together. Some step out to push the bus, others direct surround traffic. And within minutes, the mood shifts from irritation to camaraderie. As the journey resumes, laughter and teasing echo through the bus. Passengers poking fun at each other's impromptu roles as traffic marshals or mechanics. This episode was not just about fixing a broken vehicle, it was about how Lagosians confront adversity with humor, creativity, and a collective and defiant spirit of survival. In the chaos of Lagos, transportation is modern movement. It's where strangers become allies, where humanity assert itself against existential angst. The streets of Lagos pulsate with energy. Minibus taxis, or danfos as they call them, honking through humid air, their conductors rhythmically chanting strings of destinations, and crowds of downwardly mobile populations weaving through the chaotic yet mesmerizing flow of a city that never sleeps. Growing up in Lagos, I learned that every minibus taxi journey carries more than passengers. It carries stories, laughter, and an unyielding will to try, to strive, to survive, to thrive. Here, transportation is not just about vehicles or roads. It's about people, their dreams, perseverance, cruel optimism, and ability to create meaning and connection, even amidst radical uncertainty. But the vibrancy of Lagos extends beyond the visible, the audible. City life across Africa is a process of constant negotiation with forces both seen and unseen. The rhythms of Lagos are shaped not only by what is evident, but also by what remains obscure or elusive. Not only by the here and now, but as Simon tells us, the yet to come as well. As Danny Hoffman reminds us, what one cannot see or cannot see clearly determines one's fortunes. From the economic systems that govern fuel prices, to the underground networks and vernaculars of informal workers, precarious infrastructures, and deeply embedded religious practices and beliefs. These complex dynamics are integral to Lagos's aliveness, the totality of urban existence. They sustain the city's social fabric, shaping its possibilities, its people, and their popular imagination. The yellow minibuses, the danfos that navigate the city's arteries, aren't just vehicles. They are moving canvases of meaning, adorned with bold slogans that offer humor, philosophy, and solace to benighted passengers navigating the city's infamous traffic gridlock. Go slow, as they say in Lagos. These slogans are embodied, they are felt, they are interactive, they are cumulative. They derive from and mirror the simultaneous promise, threat, and resource of Lagos life. Consider the slogan, "Fear God, but respect me," a reflection of Lagos's duality. Reverence for divine power paired with an insistence on human dignity and social agency. Meanwhile, slogans like "No condition is permanent" offer solace in a city where circumstances can change overnight. Even in the push and pull of traffic jams and overloaded danfos, Lagosians or people of Lagos find affective moments of laughter and connection, transforming waiting into shared aliveness. So for drivers and conductors, the danfo is a livelihood. For passengers, it is a space where strangers meet, share stories, and momentarily escape life's uncertainties. It is within these rugged buses that the city pulses with its characteristic rhythm of life. And yet, for the Lagos state government, the danfos represent a glaring contradiction. Symbols of chaos and utter disgrace in a city aspiring to megacity status, a global face of Africa. To the technocrats shaping its future, these vibrant yellow buses seem like relics of disorder, incompatible with sleek visions of a modern Lagos. But as Lagos transforms, the tension between imposing modernity and preserving the aliveness of its popular transport system grows ever more pronounced. The post-1999 push for modernization led by Governors Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who happens to be the president at the moment, and Babatunde Fashola, sought to reshape Lagos into Africa's Big Apple. Tinubu's administration planted the seeds of reform, the creation of the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, or LASTMA for short, to untangle chaotic traffic, and the conceptualization as well of the Lagos Bus Rapid Transit System, or BRT, to streamline mobility. These reforms promised order in a city organized by unpredictability. But instead of harmonizing with Lagos's organic rhythms, these policies often disrupted them. Building on this neoliberal foundation, Fashola's tenure brought bold infrastructure projects to life, expanding highways, operationalizing the BRT system, and transforming notorious public spaces into polished urban landmarks. Travel times were cut, dedicated bus lines were created, and the city began to gleam with a new veneer of modernity. Yet progress came at a steep cost. Motorcycle or Okada riders faced harsh restrictions and outright bans, while danfo operators were steadily marginalized. These measures, though designed to modernize Lagos, whatever that is, clashed with the socioeconomic realities of its informal networks. For Okada riders and danfo operators, whose livelihoods are tethered to these systems, modernization felt more like an eviction from the city's beating heart. As one displaced driver lamented, they want a Lagos that looks good, that feels good, that glitters. But they forget that Lagos is Lagos because of the people who live there. They are doing this without regard for the people who live there. So what the reforms sort of gained in efficiency, they risked losing in identity. The Danfo, with its bold slogans, its rhythmic chants, and human hustle, is more than a mode of transport. It is a vessel of survival, of community and visual culture. By sidelining these popular systems, Lagos edges closer to erasing a vital part of its essence in the pursuit of progress. This raises a critical and urgent question. Can Lagos evolve into a modern megacity without extinguishing the vibrancy and humanity, in short, the aliveness of its popular transport networks? In this talk, I explore what I call transport aliveness, a framework that reimagines transportation not as a neutral system of infrastructure or logistics, not merely as containers forming part of the mise-en-scene of African cities, but as a living, dynamic ecosystem, a primary site of cultural production, political agency, and social imagination. The Danfo emerges as a living archive, a testament to the ingenuity, the improvisation, and the resilience of its people, individuals who are often stuck, yet perpetually in motion, navigating life's challenges and striving for advancement. Journeying through the streets of Lagos revealed transportation as a vibrant stage where the drama of existence unfolds, where creativity flourishes, and the work of hope endures. At its core, aliveness is not merely about existence. It is about vibrancy, it's about agency, it's about the capacity to live fully in a world that often denies such possibilities for marginal communities. Kevin Quish's theory of Black aliveness, which inspires this talk, invites us to see Black being in its fullness, its terribleness, its wonder, its particularity. This aliveness embodies an inward vitality that resists the reductive narratives of survival often imposed on Black lives. As Simone reminds us, the pursuit of survival involves actions, relations, sentiments, and opportunities that are more than survival alone. Aliveness is an aesthetic, a celebration of beauty, complexity, and grit, a sovereignty, if you like, of the ordinary that asserts legibility, demanding recognition and presence amidst systemic chaos and oppression. In Lagos, this aliveness pulses through the city's rhythms, the hum of generators, the shouts of bus conductors, and the relentless drive of danfo drivers who insist on surviving and thriving against all odds. Transport aliveness is relational. It thrives in heterogeneity and unpredictability of city life. It resists rigid regulation and emerges from the dynamic interplay of informal systems that defy control. Simone again aptly notes no form of regulation can keep the city in line, as the practices of inhabiting these cities are too diverse and fluid to conform to fixed structures. Rather than being defined by systemic neglect or infrastructural voids, transport aliveness is the layered residue of urban living. It manifests in transport idioms, in cultural forms, and creative practices that show how people adapt, how they connect and create meaning in their workaday world. This aliveness flourishes where systemic constraints meet human ingenuity, transforming precarity into possibility. Maxine Green's social imagination, the other sort of thinking that shaped shaped this work, complements the idea of aliveness by inviting us to envision new possibilities for being and belonging in dynamic, often unforgiving spaces. For Green, imagination is not a passive escape, but an active collective force that enables us to see the world as it is and imagine it as it could be. In Lagos, social imagination comes alive in acts of improvisation and adaptation that transform mundane spaces, motor parks, bus terminals, into dynamic hubs of creativity and connection. In this way, transport aliveness in Lagos bridges Quish's inward vitality with Green's outward imagination. It reframes transportation as a living ecosystem that reflects the city's broader power dynamics, its exclusions, and possibilities. Simon's idea of people as infrastructure resonates here as the vitality of individuals compensates for structural deficiencies. As Lagosian says, every household is its own local government. Or as Chinua Achebe declares, Africa is people. The true essence of Lagos lies not in the skylines or roads, but in the creativity, the endurance, the humanity of those who inhabit and animate its streets. Transport aliveness challenges us to see these systems not as chaotic, but as lively ecosystems, where the dance between precarity and creativity is unending. Across the sprawling landscape of African cities, popular transport is not merely a necessity. It is the beating heart of urban life. This network of minibuses, motorbikes, tricycles, and shared taxis weave through cities, embodying both the urgency and beauty of urban existence. These grassroots systems flourish where formal transit falters, offering an improvised dynamic response to the needs of a burgeoning population. In their unpredictability and adaptability, these systems reveal the intricacies of aliveness that Kwesi describes. Minibus taxis, eye-catching and iconic, are the heart of this reading. They're known as Danfo in Lagos, but we also know they exist elsewhere. Trotro in Accra, Dala Dala in Dar es Salaam, Matatus in Nairobi. They encapsulate the duality of urban life, full of energy and promise, yet laden with challenges and precariousness. And let's be clear-eyed about that. They are precarious. They are dangerous. They are responsible for the majority of motorized trips across the continent. These vehicles are not only lifelines for mobility, but also cultural artifacts. They reflect the socio-political and economic dynamics of their environment, shaping and being shaped by the marginal communities they serve. Now, unlike the rigid structures of formal transit system, popular transport thrives on flexibility and improvisation. Departures depend on passenger capacity, while routes fluidly adjust to traffic, demand, and unforeseen events. Each journey unfolds like a story, marked by checkpoints, mechanical repairs, and tense negotiations over bribes. Yet efforts to modernize and impose predictability on these popular transit systems often strip away their layered complexity, reducing them to mere disorder, a problem to be fixed. The Lagos State government's aggressive crackdowns and attempt to phase out the danfos, the minibuses, exemplify what can be described as aesthetic governance, prioritizing sleek light rail and BRT systems to align with globalized megacity ambitions. Under Governor Babatunde Sanwo-Olu, Lagos advanced the Bus Reform Initiative, a policy aimed less at improving labor conditions and more, in their own words, at removing danfo from our roads and eradicating these people. Not my words, their words. The Lagos Commissioner for Transportation encapsulated this vision, stating, and I quote, "A smart city is what we are beginning to implement, but a lot of people are fighting with technology. We will get there and we will start seeing what is happening abroad happening in Lagos." Yet danfos, and particularly their subculture of slogans, provide a vivid lens into the political economy of everyday life in Lagos, revealing a world of organized chaos and unusual agency that animates this megalopolis. Encountering a danfo slogan is to witness how Lagosians transform the realities of their daily struggles, the fight to get by and get ahead, into a vibrant living semiotic that embodies the creativity, the tenacity of urban life. The danfo is in many ways a metaphor for the soul of Lagos. Imperfect, chaotic, yet undeniably alive. One slogan painted boldly on its frame declares, "It still moves," a testament to its stamina and endurance, embodying Kwesi's aliveness. The constant rhythm of survival and reinvention is actually epitomized by these danfos. In this sense, then, the danfo mirrors Lagos itself, exerting a secretive, sometimes resented but tenacious hold on all who enter or encounter it. Like Lagos, the danfo is what preoccupies, what agitates, what repels and seduces, and from widely different causes. And as Wole Soyinka aptly describes Lagos, the danfo too is, quote unquote, a Joseph city, a garment of many colors, textures, and stylists. So during a year-long study in Oshodi and Alimosho, two of Lagos's busiest hubs, I documented roughly more than 300 slogans etched onto these vehicles. They are cryptic, they are humorous, or deeply reflective. These inscriptions on windows these inscriptions are windows into the tensions of urban life, where hardship collides with disciplined hope. Each slogan is a fragment of a larger narrative imbued with layers of meaning. Phrases like, "Oh God, do not be silent," reflect a yearning for divine intervention in a city defined by struggle, while others like "no loss, no lack, no limitation" embody a defiant optimism against adversity. These slogans evolve as vehicles change hands, becoming pamphlets of personal and collective identity. As drivers and owners inscribe their marks, the Danfo transform into a repository of stories, each layer speaking to the can-do spirit of Lagosians. Interpreting these slogans requires more than linguistic analysis. It calls for a deep immersion into the city's pulse, what scholars Ashamin and Michel Lancion describe as the grammars of the urban ground. These slogans spark reflections and conversations, acting as tools of social imagination that bridge individual experiences with communal understanding, or more aptly, a shared sense of being. For the passengers crammed within the Danfo, a slogan glimpsed from a window may evoke a fleeting moment of connection, a reminder of the collective struggles and aspirations that bind the city's inhabitants together. Through this dialectical consciousness, where constraint and possibility are locked together, pushes aliveness and green social imagination converge. The Danfo system becomes more than a chaotic means of transportation. It emerges as a living, breathing ecosystem of creativity and entrepreneurship. Each slogan, each improvisational route stands as a testament to the power of imagination to navigate constraint and sustain hope. In Lagos, the rhythms of popular transportation are not merely about moving bodies through space. They are about animating life itself, giving voice to the boundless possibility of what a city might yet become. The Danfo system is a vivid manifestation of Henry Lefebvre's concept of rhythm analysis, where the interplay of time, space, and energy defines the essence of urban living. These yellow minibuses, emblazoned with slogans and pulsing with music, bridge the chasm between Lagos's aspiration for a world-class identity and the gritty realities of its inhabitants. In their rickety frames and decorative exteriors, the Danfos transform the street into a dynamic stage for multiple modes of expression. Now, beyond their utilitarian purpose, the Danfos contribute to a broader aesthetic economy. The slogans painted on their bodies are generative text, fragments of wit, prayer, and defiance that reflect the city's capacity to transform hardship into artistry, infusing precarious lives with humor and purpose. Each phrase offers a glimpse into the socioeconomic exchanges and spiritual undercurrents of Lagos life, where the mundane is imbued with profound meaning and the utilitarian evolves into a vibrant semiotic canvas. This aliveness is not merely survival, but the capacity to transform each moment into an act of meaning and drive. As Michel Desitu suggests, it is through such practices that urban spaces become practiced places, imbued with life force, or what Yorubas call ashe, the power within that makes things happen and change. Now, during my fieldwork over the last decade, armed with a digital camera and an audio recorder, I have immersed myself in Lagos's hypervisuality and soundscape. Along its potholed roads, I documented the frenetic energy of a city in constant flux. The percussive beats of Fuji music blaring from Danfos melded with the sharp cries of Agbiros, the motor park touts, the Union foot soldiers, demanding their dues with rhythmic insistence. And I always have this haunting idea of the Agberos shouting, "Owoda, Owoda," which is simply, "Where's the money? Where's the money?" The Agberos are the enforcers of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, perhaps the most politicized and violent trade union in Nigeria. Their gruff demands for bribes and fees transform transit spaces into tense theaters of coercion and extortion. In short, the city revealed itself as a collage of overlapping rhythms, a tapestry of sound, of movement, and survival. And I was hoping to play this sound to you, but I didn't get to that. Now, built from repurposed Mercedes, let's move to the anatomy of the Danfo itself. It's constructed from repurposed Mercedes 911, Bedford or Volkswagen chassis. The Danfo minibuses typically arrive in Nigeria second-hand imports, tokumbos, as they say in Lagos. They're imports from Europe, increasingly from Asia. Around these skeletal frames, local artisans craft robust steel bodies, accommodating up to 16 passengers. This process of hybridization reflected deeper ingenuity, blending global influences with local craftsmanship. Much like the slogans emblazoned on their exteriors, the Danfos encapsulate the adaptive spirit of Lagosians, transforming global remnants into functional symbols of everyday survival and creativity. Yet the Danfo is both infamous and iconic. Its screeching brakes, its balding tires, and rattling exhaust, belching thick black smoke, they are all hallmarks of its rugged existence. Inside, passengers endure sweltering heat, intensified by sealed windows and missing ceiling padding, crammed shoulder to shoulder with market produce, livestock, and each other. Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka once described the Danfo as transportation torture on four wheels, with passengers, he says, crushed against market produce, sheep, and other livestock, suffocated by the stench of rotten food and anonymous parts. And yet, these cramped, chaotic spaces transform into living stages where the choreography of Lagos unfolds without a script. At bustling bus stops, drivers rarely bring their Danfos to a complete stop, forcing passengers to leap on and off with precarious precision. Within the sardine-like confines, the familiar refrain, "Abeg dress small," which simply means "please move over a little," echoes as strangers negotiate space and, by extension, mobile community. These fleeting interactions reveal the Danfo not just as a vehicle, but as a crucible of survival and solidarity, where the resourceful spirit of Lagos shines through in precarity. Now, seasoned, let me give you some flavor of these Danfos, and we can tease out their meaning. Seasoned drivers adorn their weathered Danfos with proverbs like, "It's still they go," which simply means it's still going strong. "No shaking," or "experience is the best teacher," symbols of stamina, of survival, and grit. In contrast, younger operators brand their sleek Danfos with cheeky slogans like "Lagos to Las Vegas," "Fresh boy, no pimples," and "Star boy," reflecting Lagos's youthful energy and constant reinvention, while in a subtle way invoking the Yoruba adage, "Oju loro wa," which means the face is the abode of discourse. Yet these slogans are more than witty and textualized aphorisms. They are dynamic texts that invite passengers and onlookers alike to engage with the lived realities of Lagos. In a city where collapsing infrastructure and systemic corruption permanently interrupt mobility and threaten progress, these phrases capture the eternal pursuit of aspiration and advancement, transforming each Danfo into a moving forum where individuals imagine and reimagine their possibilities. Danfo slogans extend beyond their role as cultural expressions. They are instrumentalities of insurgent urban citizenship. In a city where one life is tragically lost every 2 hours due to road accidents, slogans like "No cause for alarm," "Be not afraid," and "Just relax," they deliver paradoxical comfort amidst chaos. Others, such as "Fear of God," "Thank you, Jesus," reflect a collective reliance on divine protection, offering emotional anchors in a city defined by unpredictability. Remarkably, these slogans also resist bureaucratic control. Despite laws such as the Lagos State Road Traffic Law of 2012, which sought to outlaw vehicular inscriptions, Danfo operators continue to paint their vehicles with bold defiance. Each slogan becomes a declaration of autonomy, challenging regulatory frameworks while celebrating the creative ingenuity of Lagosians. Now, remember again, no amount of regulation can whip the city into shape, as Simone reminds us. This echoes here. This visual culture of vehicular slogans is not unique to Lagos. Across the global south, similar inscriptions transform vehicles into canvases of expression. And this is always my favorite slogan from the streets of Delhi. "No girlfriend, no tension," reflecting the universal truism that human or romantic relationships are complicated. Such parallels reveal how urban creativity transcends borders, using humor to navigate the challenges of modern city life. In Lagos, however, the stakes are higher. Here, Danfo slogans shape not just the vehicles, but also perceptions, emotions, and decisions. As one passenger once reflected, "When I see a slogan like 'Relax, God is in control,' I feel safe boarding because the driver trusts in God's powers." In the dynamic rhythm of African urban life, as hinted earlier, navigating visible and invisible forces is a constant negotiation. Nowhere is this interplay between the tangible and the intangible more pronounced than on the bustling roads of Lagos, where anything can happen, as one slogan puts it. This predictably unpredictable nature of city life, to use Petit's words, compels hypervigilance from urban dwellers. As the saying in Lagos goes, shine your eyes. The exteriors of danfos reflect this vigilant citizenship and precarious negotiation in slogans such as Aye Mojuba, I respect the world, a humble acknowledgement of the visible and invisible forces that shape urban existence. The Yoruba concept of Aye or worldly life, juxtaposed with Orun, the afterlife, illustrates a worldview steeped in reverence for the uncertainties of existence. To respect Aye is to tread carefully, guarding against misfortune and supplicating to higher powers that govern life's unpredictable turns. The interplay mirrors Kwashi's notion of aliveness as a rhythm, where life, with all its unpredictability, is both endured and embraced. For Danfo drivers, life is often seen as a battlefield, a struggle that is etched into the slogans they choose for their vehicles. Phrases like Aye Ogun, which translates into life is war, or Aye Loja, which translates into the world is a marketplace, they evoke a worldview in which existence is transactional, unpredictable, and transient. Life becomes a journey through a marketplace of trials, leading ultimately to the eternal home of the spirit, Orun Ile. Through these slogans, Danfo drivers articulate a philosophy of hope rooted in Yoruba cosmology. As Jane Gaia notes, hope is both temporal and eternal, a rhythmic interplay of daily grind and long-term renewal. The marketplace metaphor, while acknowledging life's transient challenges, also celebrates the resourcefulness and the smarts needed to navigate it. The precariousness of owning and operating a Danfo amplifies the need for protection, both spiritual and physical. In Lagos, car ownership is a marker of wealth and status, making Danfo owners and drivers vulnerable to envy and invisible threats, what Yorubas call anwota, enemies of progress. This ever-present fear of sorcery or misfortune drives many drivers to fortify their vehicles with charms. Animal skin armlets tied to rearview mirrors or small talisman believed to repel harm and attract passengers. Classic studies such as that of Lawuyi reveal the prevalence of these spiritual safeguards, with 80% of Muslims and 60% of Christian Yoruba drivers relying on charms for protection. Yet words themselves, painted in bold, defiant letters, serve as another layer of fortification, acting as shields of faith and fortitude. Infused with the Yoruba concept of Ashe, the life force of words, the power to shape reality. Slogans such as Wibe, Jebe, which means say it and it shall come to pass. The presence of God, no loss, no lack, no limitation, angels on guard, no weapons fashioned against me, and back to sender. These slogans, they take on a talismanic significance. They become prayers, warnings, and affirmations, a declaration of agency against forces that are both visible and invincible. Forces that impose existential immobility or stockedness on people. Other phrases like see never dry embody hope. Hope for sustainability and abundance, a belief that the Danfo as a lifeline for countless families will continue to provide. Now, these words resonate beyond the drivers themselves, fostering a collective sense of reassurance, as one driver explained. The slogan on my bus is not just for me, it gives my passengers peace of mind. It reminds them that God is watching over us all. For many drivers, these declarations are more than expressions of faith. They are tools of survival, aligning the struggles of daily life with the assurance of divine guardianship. This linguistic resistance exemplifies Kwashi's concept of aliveness and Green's belief in the transformative power of language to reshape reality. Together, they illuminate how words spoken, written, and believed become lifelines in the precarious rhythms of Lagos life. Now, the roads of Lagos are paradoxical spaces. They are arteries of progress, yet they are sites of peril. As the Komarovs observe, modern highways are inescapable enticement that come from devastating social cost. Lagos's roads illustrate this tension vividly, embodying both the promise and perils of modernity. Writers such as Ben Okri and Wole Soyinka have likened them to predatory beasts, consuming lives with relentless ferocity. Indeed, Nigeria currently ranks as the second most dangerous country for road travel among 199 UN member states. Lagos, as the nation's commercial capital and nerve center, bears the brunt of this toll. The downfall, a lifeline for many, navigates these hazardous roads on a daily basis, embodying both victimhood and culpability. The roads of Lagos are a minefield of potholes, forcing erratic maneuvers that endanger all road users. The Lagos Badagry Express way alone, with its thousands of potholes, has become a death trap, a literal long coffin swallowing vehicles alive. For downfall drivers, the risks are relentless. Navigating these roads uh, um, means not only constant danger, but also the financial burden of endless repairs. Nicknamed flying coffins, the downfalls epitomize this grim reality. Yet for many Lagosians, these buses are a necessary risk, an affordable alternative to the prohibitively expensive taxis. As one trader puts it, we know they are dead traps, but we don't have a choice. The dual identity of the downfall as both a lifeline and a liability mirrors this precarious balance of survival in Lagos. The slogans emblazoned on downfalls often reflect the dangers of the road, serving as poignant reminders of life's fragility. Phrases like carry me home, pray and hope, see you in heaven. They acknowledge this omnipresent risk of death, while stark warnings such as remember your 6 feet, a reference to the standard depth of a grave, underscore the reality that every journey could be a final one. As one downfall slogan bluntly states, last warning. Others like drive soft, life no gets duplicate. Choose home or mortuary. Or are you following Jesus this close? They offer humor-tinged wisdom, encouraging vigilance while affirming the enduring spirit of Lagosians. These declarations turn each journey into a reflection on survival, where vigilance and faith become indispensable companions. In doing so, they transform the act of commuting into something more profound, a moment to confront life's fragility, reimagine its possibilities, and transcend its hardships with creativity and research. On February 15, 2022, a downfall driver in Lagos took his own life by setting himself ablaze in protest after bribe-demanding officials of the Lagos Traffic Management Authority, or LASMA, seized his vehicle. Reacting to this tragic act of self-immolation, another driver declared, and I quote, LASMA officials are treating us like slaves. They arrest and extort us at will. We go through hell in their hands and those of Agbiboas and local government officials. How much do we make? Out of the money we earn daily, we will buy fuel, return money to the vehicle owners, and at the end of the day, we are left with little or nothing. The daily grind of downfall drivers is a relentless cycle of precarity, a hand-to-mouth existence with no fixed income, no days off, and no safety net. 24 hours on the road, as this slogan puts it. These endless working hours are further burdened by systemic exploitation. Law enforcement extorts them, the motor park tout or Agbiboas demand bribes, and vehicle owners impose steep financial targets. Each day is a battle to escape together, to scrape together enough to survive, only to begin again the next morning. As this driver puts it, what you get today, you use today, and tomorrow you start again from scratch. The bribes collected by Agbiboas on behalf of the union, the Traffic Management Authority, the police, they are endless and sometimes they're absurd. And I documented a few from fieldwork. Booking fees, loading fees, drop-in fees, money for weekend, and even the chairman's meal. The Yorubas have greetings for every time of the day, and the Agbiboas or the motor parked out just tailor these bribes according to the greetings. So there could be money for the early afternoon, money for the late afternoon, money for the early evening, money for the late evening. It's farcical. Now, rough estimates suggest that Agbiboas generate a staggering 200 billion naira, which is equivalent to about 514 million US dollars annually, almost half of Lagos State's internal generated revenue. Refusing to pay often leads to severe consequences, from lengthy delays to police detention, smashed side view mirror, or even gunfire. As one driver lamented, we just pay them and go our way. What else can we do? To meet financial targets and avoid forfeiting their vehicles, drivers race recklessly through Lagos traffic. As Kenyan historian Kenda Mutogi observes, these drivers do not race to experience sensations, since they are not in it for a sport. They speed to meet deadlines if they are to keep their jobs. Urbanist Simon echoes this, noting that, and I quote, speeding up is the essential criterion for the ability to eke out minimal profit in sectors inundated with competition. A Danforth slogan captures it succinctly: no time to check time. And while weaving between lanes and dodging potholes and debris that compete with motorists for right of way, the driver counts money to ensure it is complete. He hastily responds to passengers' demand for change and fends off touts shouting a order. Amid this chaos, the driver still finds time to take incoming calls and spot passengers from afar. This perpetual state of readiness to shift gears and direction at any moment reflects not just the Danfo driver's life, but the spirit of Lagos itself. The relentless demands of the job take a devastating toll on drivers' health. Many suffer from hypertension. I think it was about 99%, so virtually all, according to the Lagos state government. They suffer from respiratory issues and they are partially blind, with about 22% of drivers reportedly affected. To cope with stress, some turn to the distilled palm liquor, popularly known as ogogoro. But this substance often exacerbates reckless driving and compound the dangers of Lagos's roads. Now, despite the hardships, Danfo drivers embody a rugged perseverance, navigating a system stacked against them. Their stories reveal the precarious dance of survival in Lagos, a city where amidst chaos and exploitation, life hurtles forward with vitality. Now, in Lagos, survival for the urban poor hinges on forging relationship with powerful patrons or big men who act as vital intermediaries in a system where connections are often the currency of mobility. Anthropologist Caroline Blesso's concept of ever more powerful mediators aptly describes these relationships as patrons secure jobs, scholarships, and protection from both bureaucratic overreach and social vulnerabilities. The Danforth slogan, Aye Osheni Konshe, no one is an island or no one is self-sufficient, captures this reality, emphasizing the communal interdependence that sustains life in this chaotic urban sprawl. In the high-stakes environment of Lagos, patrons are not just benefactors, they are lifelines. They embody the Yoruba philosophy of wealth in people. Whether providing the financial foundation for a Danfo business or intervening in crisis, these relationships underscore the collective imagination of mutual reliance. Slogans such as "Give us never lack" or "Oganla, big man" celebrate the generosity of patrons, while others like Ola Amomi or My Mother's Benevolence, they honor familial support that enables survival in these precarious conditions. Yet dependence on patrons comes with its vulnerabilities. When support fails to materialize despite the means to give, patrons are seen as part of quote-unquote Anwaye, the wicked world. Slogans such as "Help us are scarce," "If men were God," or simply "Human behavior," Iwaida, they reflect the disillusionment of a population navigating the fragility of human loyalty. Now, this skepticism deepens in phrases such as "your worst enemy can be your best friend" and "trust nobody," which articulate the precariousness of relying on others in a competitive urban landscape. Now, this Danforth slogan, to go back, "No more person," laments the erosion of African communitarian value once defined by Ubuntu. I am because we are. In Lagos, traditional mutual responsibility has given way to an urban ethos that prioritizes self-interest. For transport operators, Danfo slogans become ways to grapple with these shifting realities, channeling their disappointment while seeking solidarity through spiritual faith. When patrons fail, operators turn to divine interventions. Slogans like "If not for God, God day," which is "God is present," and "I am lifted," which was the cover image of this talk, they reflect a profound reliance on a spiritual fortification in an unforgiving world, while acknowledging the dominance of the wealthy, as illustrated by this slogan, "Olowo Loga," the rich person is the boss. These slogans also remind us that Olowo Kinsheniyo, which means the rich person is not God. Faith becomes both a coping mechanism and a statement of defiance, affirming that human power is ultimately subordinate to divine will. In a city where fortunes rise and fall unpredictably, faith offers a lifeline. Gavin Williams in State and Society in Nigeria, that classic work, observed that reliance on God, fate, and luck is a rational response to the uncontrollable vicissitudes of urban life. This belief is reflected in the repetitive, even cruel optimism of Danfo slogans, which suggest that while human alliances may falter, divine grace endures. Phrases like "not by struggle" and God exists, reminds operators that survival is not solely a product of human effort, but a gift of providence. And I'm coming to the conclusion here. Hope, as Gaia notes, is cyclical. It's fueled by the belief in infinite possibilities. This optimism propels Lagos's Danfo drivers through their grueling routines, enabling them to navigate a world that, though fraught with uncertainty, is alive with potential. Green's social imagination is evident in these moments of faith, as drivers envision alternate realities where divine interventions gives them the fortitude to confront or at least live with adversity. So more than merely a mode of transport, then, the Danfo is the heartbeat of Lagos itself, a city pulsing with ingenuity, improvisation, and the collective determination to insist and persist against overwhelming odds. In a metropolis striving to reinvent itself as world class, the Danfo defies erasure, asserting its place as a vital force in Lagos's political, cultural, and social economy. These vehicles, adorned with the eclectic inscriptions, carry more than passengers. They bear the weight of a shared struggle and deferred dreams. In every rickety frame and witty slogans lies the indomitable spirit of a city that refuses to fall in line, reminding us of the beauty and the grit required to keep moving. For now, the Danfo remains integral to Lagos's rhythm, keeping its people and their ideas in constant motion. Whether this enduring symbol of tenacity will withstand the march towards modernity is another matter. But even if the Danfo fades from the street, its legacy as a carrier of hope, ingenuity, and Lagos spirit will endure, a testament to the creativity and perseverance of its people. It's no surprise, therefore, that in most books on Nigeria, written about Nigeria, or even Africa for that matter, these minibuses often adorn the front pages, epitomizing the very essence of what the city is. I'll leave it there for now. Look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Agbiboa. I before giving the time for people to ask questions, I just want to reflect on the beauty of what you wrote because I thought it was very evocative, and I'm just going to remind the audience of some words that I wrote while you were speaking. So in terms of aliveness, you spoke about laughter, about fight, chaos, tenacity, imperfection, stamina, endurance, unpredictability, fragility, lack of human control, dreams and struggles. And then when you refer to slogans, you use words that were so varied, including religion, agency, humor, defiant optimism, personal and collective identity, aspirational advancement, defiance of the law, prayers, talismans, and you use a metaphor that I found also very beautiful about dancing, the dance between precarity and creativity, and the scary part of a death trap without an option, which I think is a shared reality in global South cities. So all of this was extremely, extremely beautiful for all the audience, I think. So now the floor is open for questions, and I hope the conversation can produce much more insights into all of this project. So I